It was a normal Wednesday morning when I received an email that would change my life. The subject line read, "Job opportunity, urgent response needed." At first, I thought it was just another marketing email, but something told me to open it. Inside, there was an offer for a job at a company I had always admired. They wanted me to start as soon as possible. I had been looking for a new job for months, but I never expected such an opportunity to come so suddenly. The company was based in another city, and the role was exactly what I had been dreaming about. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. Could I really move to a new city? Would I be good enough for the job? Despite my doubts, I decided to accept the offer and start this new adventure. The next few weeks were a blur of packing, saying goodbye to friends, and adjusting to the idea of living in a new city. I arrived at the new city with a mix of emotions. The city was much bigger than my hometown, and I felt both excited and overwhelmed. I rented a small apartment near my new office. The apartment was cozy, but everything was unfamiliar. I didn't know many people, and the city was busy and fast-paced. The first day at my new job was both exciting and stressful. I met my new colleagues, and everyone seemed very professional and friendly. The office was modern, with large windows that gave a view of the city. I was introduced to my manager, Sarah, who was kind but serious about her work. She explained my tasks, and I started learning the systems I would be working with. It was a lot to take in, but I was determined to succeed. Chapter 3: Overcoming challenges. The first few weeks at my new job were tough. I had to learn a lot of new things quickly. The company's systems were complex, and I felt like I was always behind. I often stayed late at the office, trying to catch up. One day, I made a small mistake during an important meeting. I felt embarrassed and worried that I might lose the job. But Sarah, my manager, was supportive. She told me that mistakes were part of the learning process and encouraged me to keep going. With time, I became more comfortable in my role. I started understanding the systems better and was able to contribute more to meetings. Slowly, I began to feel like I was part of the team. My colleagues were helpful, and we started to become friends. I even began to enjoy the challenges at work, seeing them as opportunities to grow. As I settled into my new job and city, I started to explore more of the area. I joined a local gym to stay healthy and met a few people there. One of them, Emma, became a good friend. She had been living in the city for a few years and knew a lot about the best places to eat, shop, and relax. She invited me to explore the city's parks and museums, which helped me feel more at home. I also started meeting some of my colleagues outside of work. We would have lunch together or go for drinks after a long day. It was nice to build relationships with the people I worked with, and I felt more connected to the city and my job. As the months went by, I noticed a big change in myself. I had grown both professionally and personally. I was more confident in my job and had become more independent. The challenges I faced at work had helped me develop new skills and taught me how to handle pressure. I was also becoming more comfortable living alone in the city. I had learned how to navigate the busy streets, find the best restaurants, and even manage my time better. I realized that moving to a new city and starting a new job was one of the best decisions I had ever made. It had pushed me out of my comfort zone and helped me grow in ways I never expected. I was proud of the progress I had made and excited for what the future held. Just when I felt like everything was going well, I received unexpected news. My company was going through some financial difficulties, and there might be some layoffs in the near future. I was shocked. After all the hard work I had put in, I never imagined that I could be affected. The news made me anxious, and I started worrying about my future, but instead of panicking, I decided to take action. I updated my resume and started networking with people in the industry. I also made sure to continue giving my best at work, even during uncertain times. I knew that whatever happened, I could handle it. I had learned a lot in my time at the company, and I was determined to stay positive and keep moving forward. A few weeks later, I received an offer from another company. It wasn't easy to leave my current job, but the new offer was a great opportunity for my career. It was a bigger role with more responsibility, and I knew it would challenge me in new ways. After carefully considering my options, I decided to accept the offer and move on to the next chapter of my career. As I left my old company, I felt a sense of gratitude. I had learned so much during my time there, and it had helped me grow into the professional I was today. I was excited for the new adventure, but I would always carry the lessons and friendships from my first job with me. The transition to my new job was exciting, but it also brought its own challenges. The first few days were busy, and I had to get used to a new routine. The office was bigger, and there were more people. At first, I felt like a small fish in a big pond, but over time, I began to find my place. My colleagues were friendly, and they helped me with the tasks I was learning. I also started to enjoy my new apartment more. It wasn't perfect, but it was comfortable, and I was slowly making it feel like home. I decorated the living room with some photos of my family and friends, and I bought a few plants to make the space feel more alive. I was starting to build my new life, and even though it was hard sometimes, I felt proud of how far I had come. A few weeks into my new job, I was given more responsibilities. My manager, Sarah, trusted me with important projects. At first, I felt nervous because these projects were bigger than anything I had worked on before. However, I reminded myself that I had already overcome many challenges, and I could handle this too. I spent long hours at the office, working on these projects. There were times when I felt stressed and doubted myself, but I kept pushing forward. I asked my colleagues for advice when I needed help, and I learned a lot from them. With each day, I became more confident in my abilities. One weekend, while I was out shopping, I received a surprise phone call. It was from my old friend, Mark, who I hadn't seen in years. He was in town for a business trip and wanted to meet up. We agreed to meet at a cafe, and I was excited to catch up with him. When we met, it felt like no time had passed. We talked about everything: old memories, new adventures, and life in general. Mark was always a good friend, and it was nice to reconnect with him. We laughed about funny stories from the past and shared our future plans. The meeting reminded me of how important friendships are, even when life takes us in different directions. After a stressful few weeks at work, I decided I needed a break. I planned a weekend getaway to the mountains, just to relax and clear my mind. I booked a small cabin and invited Emma, my new friend from the gym, to join me. She had been working hard too, and we both needed a few days away from the hustle and bustle of the city. The trip was exactly what we needed. The fresh mountain air, the peaceful surroundings, and the time away from our busy lives helped us recharge. We spent our days hiking, reading, and having long talks about our dreams and goals. It was a perfect escape, and I returned to work feeling refreshed and ready to face whatever came next. One morning, I received an unexpected email from my boss, Sarah. She wanted to have a meeting with me. I was nervous at first, but when I walked into her office, she had a big smile on her face. Julian, she said, I have great news. We've been really impressed with your work lately, and I'd like to offer you a promotion. You'll be leading a new team starting next month. I was shocked but incredibly excited. This was a huge opportunity for my career, and I felt proud of everything I had accomplished. It wasn't easy to get here, but all the hard work and long hours had paid off. I accepted the promotion, and I couldn't wait to start this new chapter of my career. Becoming a team leader was both exciting and challenging. On my first day, I had to introduce myself to my new team and explain the goals we would be working towards. I was nervous, but I remembered the advice I had received from mentors over the years. Be confident, be kind, and lead by example. As the days went by, I learned how to balance being a leader and a colleague. I wanted to support my team and help them grow, but I also had to make tough decisions and keep everyone on track. I realized that being a leader was not just about giving orders, it was about motivating and inspiring others. A few months after my promotion, my colleagues decided to throw me a surprise birthday party at the office. I had no idea they were planning it, and I was touched by their kindness. When I walked into the conference room, the lights were off, and everyone yelled, "Surprise!" There were decorations, cake, and gifts. We all laughed and celebrated together. It was a reminder of how much I had grown since I started this job. I felt like I had found a second family here, and I was grateful for their support and friendship. As time went on, I became more comfortable in my role as a team leader. I learned new skills, built stronger relationships with my colleagues, and achieved even more career milestones. But I knew that my journey wasn't over. There was still so much to learn and experience. I looked back on the past year and realized how much I had changed. Moving to a new city, starting a new job, and facing challenges had all been part of my growth. Now, I felt ready for whatever came next. The future was full of opportunities, and I was excited to continue my journey. A few months after my promotion, an exciting opportunity came my way. My company had a new project in a different country, and they were looking for someone to lead the team there. It was a big decision because moving abroad would mean leaving my friends, family, and the life I had built here. But I knew it was an opportunity one couldn't miss. After a lot of thinking, I decided to take the chance. I spoke with my team and explained the situation. Everyone was supportive, and although it was hard to say goodbye, I knew this new chapter would help me grow even more. I started preparing for the move, learning about the new country and culture, and making sure my work was in good hands before I left. The day I left was filled with mixed emotions. I had made so many memories here, and saying goodbye was difficult. My friends threw me a farewell party, and we shared stories, laughed, and promised to stay in touch. It was a bittersweet moment, but I was excited for what the future held. As I packed my bags, I realized how much I had changed since I first arrived. I was no longer the nervous person who had just started in a new city. I had become more confident, more independent, and more open to new experiences. I knew this move was just the beginning of a new adventure. When I arrived in the new city, I was excited but also nervous. Everything was different: the language, the food, the people. I had to adjust to a new way of life, but I was determined to make it work. I found an apartment and started exploring the city. There were so many things to see and do, and I was eager to experience it all. The first few weeks were challenging. I had to learn the language, navigate the public transport system, and get used to a different work culture. But slowly, I began to feel more comfortable. I met some new friends at work, and they helped me with the language and showed me around the city. I started to feel at home. Adapting to a new culture wasn't easy. There were many differences that I had to get used to, especially when it came to the way people worked and communicated. At first, I made some mistakes. I didn't always understand the local customs or the way things were done. But I was open-minded and asked questions whenever I didn't know something. Over time, I started to feel more comfortable. I learned the local phrases and became more confident speaking the language. I also learned to appreciate the differences in the culture. For example, the way people valued family and community was something I found beautiful. I started to see the world in a new way, and it made me grow both personally and professionally. Living and working in a new country wasn't always easy. There were times when I felt frustrated and lonely. Sometimes I missed home and felt out of place. The work was also challenging, and I had to adjust to new ways of working. But I reminded myself that every challenge was an opportunity to learn and grow. I reached out to my friends and family back home, and their support helped me stay positive. I also started to take time for myself, exploring the city, reading books, and practicing mindfulness. It wasn't always easy, but I knew I was becoming stronger and more resilient every day. As I settled into my new life, I started to build deeper relationships with my colleagues and new friends. I joined a local sports team, and this helped me meet even more people. I realized that having a strong social support system was essential for my happiness and well-being. Through these relationships, I learned more about the local culture and how to navigate life in the new city. I shared my experiences with my new friends, and they shared theirs with me. We supported each other, and this made me feel more connected to the place and the people around me. After a few months, I was assigned to lead a new project at work. This was a big opportunity for me to prove myself and show what I had learned in the new country. The project was challenging, and it required a lot of work, but I was ready for it. I spent many hours in meetings, collaborating with my team, and solving problems. There were times when things didn't go as planned, but I always found a way to make things work. I learned new skills, like how to manage a team in a different cultural environment and how to adapt quickly to new situations. Over the course of the project, I realized how much I had grown. I was no longer the person who was afraid of change or challenges. I had learned to embrace them and use them to become better at what I do. I had also become more independent and confident in my abilities. Living and working in a foreign country had taught me many lessons. I learned that growth comes from stepping outside of your comfort zone and facing difficulties head-on. It wasn't always easy, but I wouldn't change a thing. I was proud of how far I had come. As I continued my journey in this new country, I started to think about my future. I had accomplished so much already, but I knew there was still more to do. I wanted to continue developing my career, building new relationships, and exploring the world. I knew that life would continue to challenge me, but I was no longer afraid of those challenges. I had learned to adapt, to grow, and to find opportunities in every situation. My adventure was far from over, and I was excited to see where it would take me next. One day, just as I was getting into a routine, I received an unexpected visitor, my old friend from home, Alex. He had been traveling around Europe and decided to stop by my new city. It was a pleasant surprise. We hadn't seen each other in years, and it felt great to reconnect. We spent the weekend exploring the city together, visiting new places, and reminiscing about our old adventures back home. It was a reminder of how far I had come, and how much had changed since we were last together. We laughed about the silly things we did when we were younger, and I realized that despite the changes in my life, some things would always remain the same, like the value of old friendships. As the months went by, I realized that I wanted to continue improving myself, not only professionally but personally as well. I signed up for a cooking class to learn how to prepare traditional dishes from the country I was living in. I had always enjoyed cooking, but now I wanted to dive deeper into the local cuisine. The cooking class was a lot of fun. I met new people and learned many new techniques. The best part was sharing meals we had prepared together. It felt like a celebration of different cultures coming together. I also gained more confidence in the kitchen and started cooking local dishes at home, impressing my friends with my new skills. Months passed, and I was growing more comfortable in my new life. But there was one decision that I needed to make: whether I wanted to stay in this city for good or go back home. I loved my job and the people I had met, but I missed my family and friends back home. The thought of returning was tempting, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to leave the life I had built here. I spent many sleepless nights thinking about it. I made lists of the pros and cons, talked to my friends and family, and reflected on my goals. After a lot of thinking, I realized that I wasn't ready to leave just yet. I still had so much more to learn, experience, and explore in this new city. My journey wasn't finished, and I was determined to keep going. At work, a new challenge presented itself. The company was expanding rapidly, and with the new growth came a lot of responsibility. I was given a larger team to manage and tasked with overseeing a more complex project. The pressure was on, but I was excited. This was my chance to prove myself even more. I worked harder than ever, spending long hours in meetings and brainstorming sessions. There were moments when I felt overwhelmed, but I reminded myself that this was an opportunity to grow. With the support of my team and my friends, I managed to push through and finish the project successfully. It was a great achievement, and I felt proud of myself. In addition to work, I had made progress in other areas of my life as well. I had been taking language lessons for months, and I was finally able to speak fluently. I could now hold conversations with locals, understand jokes, and express myself with confidence. It was a personal triumph, and it made me feel more connected to the city and its people. I celebrated this milestone by joining a local event, a community festival where people from different countries came together to celebrate food, music, and culture. It was an amazing experience. I felt like I was part of something bigger, and I was grateful for the opportunity to be involved in such a diverse and vibrant community. One of the things I had always wanted to do while living abroad was to travel more. I had already visited a few nearby countries, but there were still many places I wanted to explore. I decided to take a 2-week vacation and travel to a neighboring country I had always dreamed of visiting. The trip was incredible. I visited historical sites, tried new foods, and met wonderful people along the way. Traveling reminded me of how much I loved exploring new places and experiencing different cultures. It gave me a sense of freedom and excitement that I hadn't felt in a while. I returned from the trip feeling refreshed and motivated to continue working hard. As I continued to grow in my career and personal life, I realized that the relationships I had built in this city were just as important as my professional achievements. I made an effort to spend more time with my friends, both old and new. We went on weekend trips, had regular dinners together, and supported each other through the ups and downs of life. I also started to strengthen my relationship with my family back home. We had regular video calls, and I made sure to share the important moments of my life with them. It wasn't always easy, especially with the time difference, but I knew that staying connected with loved ones was vital for my happiness. During my travels and time spent in the city, I discovered a new passion: photography. I had always enjoyed taking pictures, but it wasn't until I started exploring the city with a camera in hand that I realized how much I loved it. I began capturing moments, beautiful architecture, sunsets, candid street scenes, and started sharing them with my friends and online. People began to notice my photos, and I even started getting requests for photography work. It was an unexpected turn, but I was thrilled. Photography became my new creative outlet, and it gave me a sense of fulfillment beyond work. I also started taking classes to improve my skills and learn more about the art of photography. As I reflected on the past few years, I realized how much I had grown. The challenges, the opportunities, and the experiences had shaped me into a stronger, more confident person. I had learned to embrace change and take risks, and I was proud of everything I had accomplished, but I also knew that this was just the beginning. There were still many goals I wanted to achieve, and I was excited about the future. Whether it was growing in my career, continuing to explore the world, or pursuing my passions, I knew I was on the right path, and my journey wasn't over. It was just evolving, and I was ready for whatever came next.